Welcome back to another Just 5 Minutes, or Just 5 Mins if you want to be brief, which this is not. In fact, I really should rename this to approximately Just 5 Mins, but there we go. Okay, so what we've got, yeah, well, that's why I plugged the Steve Ballmer famous sort of video on there, but just change developers. I haven't got the time to go do a video editing thing. So just change developers with AI, if you could. But it is like that. And even though I didn't really start out doing like a news type thing, there's so much on the web about all this stuff, but just a couple of key things. So it's not necessarily coding for this time, but there is technology and there is AI. But anyway, let's get into it. So one of the things that you might have actually seen is, or not, is the Humane pin. I don't know if you've seen that. A little bit more muted than Steve Ballmer's sort of like classic developers thing. These are, I believe, they're ex-Apple people that created it, and essentially, when you look at it, it is quite compact. I wouldn't say it's a pin, more like a badge, but Humane badge might have been a bit too much. But interestingly, um, it's sort of like a smartphone without being a smartphone, which is a bit weird. Hang on a minute. What does that mean? Well, it doesn't have a screen as such, okay? And essentially, they touted it as a, well, basically, yeah, like an AI-driven assistant more than anything. But it can do things like make a call because it's got, you know, mobile or cell coverage and things. What they call a bubble of sound, so that when it's like giving you instruction, like if you're saying, where's the nearest cafe or something, the sound apparently is a bubble of sound. I don't know what that means or how it sounds, but anyway, the idea is this thing clips onto your jacket, lapel, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. If you're going to wear a muscle t-shirt, I don't know how that's going to work. But anyway, but you have like it's got a battery bit at the back, so I mean, I can get the idea, but what it's really doing, it's got like a laser, so it can, if it's got like a message, you can literally hold your hand out in front of you, and using like what looks to be like a green laser, it can display that information on your hand instead of a screen. So it can do a lot of really useful things, but uh, it's, what is it? I think in the US dollars, it's about 699 to buy, and it's about a $24 a month. I don't know what it's going to be over Europe and anywhere else in the world, but $24 a month subscription that basically is giving you its AI access, almost like access to like OpenAI or all of the AI models and such. And obviously, in the US at least, it's with T-Mobile to make obviously calls, texts, and all those things. But anyway, that's an interesting thing to have a look at. I'll put some links in the show notes. At least I suppose it's a bit of a breakthrough from the typical, smartphones, which were sort of a little bit at a peak, aren't we, really, in that sort of front. But the other couple of little bits I've got is obviously the drama with OpenAI, where the board of OpenAI sacked Sam Altman, who's the main guy there, the CEO. But then there was a massive thing, and within a couple of days, Microsoft offered him a job, but he then got back, and is back at OpenAI, and the board got disbanded or something. And apparently, so the story goes, they you see on the news saying, Sam Altman wasn't completely candid about the, in other words, he might have lied about something. But what they seem to think is it could be to do with, I suppose they might call it GPT-5, but it's something called Q star with a Q and an asterisk, but Q star. And allegedly, that's the first time it's got AGI, which is, artificial general intelligence. In other words, it's not just regurgitating old stuff that it's found off the web or wherever. It's actually reasoning and rationale sort of processes that's going on allegedly. So that's what that drama seems to be, and I suppose it'll unfold. And the only other thing is, and we've run out of time already, is there's so much more with a lot of the AI based on your own data and how easy it is now to actually develop that. But I'm going to do a separate video. I keep saying about I'm going to do a video and I never get around to it, but it's a ramble. An amazing time. I'm sure that I will cover something other than AI in one of these episodes, but so far, yeah, there's a lot to sift through, or is there? You could take that approach. There is a lot of stuff, and it's almost like waiting for things to settle to see what you can actually use. But anyway, some of the semantic sort of search. There's one thing that I haven't got time uh, to to cover is the semantic kernel in the .NET world, which is basically the center of the Copilot stack. So where you see Copilot everywhere, there's basically an underlying semantic kernel that you can use. It's a framework that you can use to to build out your own multi-model approaches. And again, I'll go into that a little bit deeper in another episode, but I've gone way over the 5 minutes. So that's all I have this time. It's another ramble. Take care, everyone, and we'll talk to you in the next one.